Welcome to another episode of Reseller Evolution. I'm Scott.
And I'm Carl on fire. Carl the lazy reseller.
Carl on fire.
Yes, thank you to Jamie for taking over. But get out of my seat. I'm back, baby.
You feel all rested up after that vacation, or do you feel more exhausted?
I'm more exhausted. I drove the entire time. So we went out east, for people who don't know. So we went from Ottawa to Quebec City, Sherbrooke to not Sherbrooke. Oh no, it's Shediac down to Halifax, Peggy's Cove, and then drove back. And it's it's hard when you do all the driving, right? My wife can drive. She drove for an hour maybe, but I drove the whole time, and it's exhausting trying to find places to stay and do all that. So I need a vacation from my vacation, but hey, I'm back now, back into the saddle, so to speak.
So did you just leave Ottawa and drive straight out there?
Yeah, pretty well.
Pretty much, eh? Okay.
And I don't think I would do that the same way.
Do you go through the States, or do you just stay within Canada?
So we debated going through the States, but someone said where we would be going back was actually really boring as well. Because it's not like you're going along. We wouldn't have gone along the coast of the United States. We would have gone in through Maine, but kind of the middle of Maine, and there's not as much there. And honestly, at that point, I just wanted to kind of get home. So I didn't want the complication of the border. It wouldn't have saved us really any time. So it all worked out in the end. But
okay. And so I got a couple questions, because we were looking at doing that trek this year.
Yeah.
But we're actually going to go up to Sault Ste. Marie in the beginning of September instead, with some friends. So we're probably going to do it next year. I think we're looking at getting a camper and maybe doing it. But my question is, you mentioned a word boring. Is it a boring drive?
Yeah, it is pretty boring.
Oh, man.
Because through when you past Quebec and you're going down to Halifax, basically the highways are just up and down, which is fine, but they're just forests on both sides the entire way. So it's not, I wouldn't call it a scenic route. In fact, when we came back, GPS took us kind of down a side route, and it was just woods both sides for miles and miles and miles and miles. So yeah, it was, I would not call it the most thrilling driving. Now, if you want to take more time, you could take the scenic routes maybe and go along the coast, but we didn't do that. I never been to, well, technically I've been to Peggy's Cove, but I never really been out there. So I wanted to get to the cities. And I think that's what I would change if I was going to do this again. We did a bit too much driving to the location, and then staying overnight, and then driving again. It wasn't the most efficient way to do it. And so it's expensive too.
So you would stay over longer in those areas?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, my favorite time was was in Halifax.
Yeah,
we stayed 2 nights in Halifax, and I had the most amazing meal there. Scallops was, my mouth is watering just thinking of that meal.
Yeah,
it was good. It was good. Halifax was great. It was an interesting city. I think the day we spent there was enough. It was 2 nights, but really one day of just hanging out. Bay of Fundy was really cool. We spent a night out there and spent the day doing the Bay of Fundy thing. That was a lot of fun too.
So is the seafood cheaper out there?
Oh, I wouldn't say it's cheaper.
No. Okay.
It's fresher though, so it's a lot better. It was definitely worth having. We had lobster.
Yeah.
We had lobster rolls. Those were really good too. And it was interesting. It's Amy was saying she understands now more the purpose of having a camper. We're not.
She said what? Sorry.
Understands the more driving around a camper.
Oh, okay.
She understands that a bit more now, because this is sort of the trip that would be perfect for.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to worry about trying to find the hotel, get to the hotel, and spend all that time. You just have your hotel with you.
Yeah.
Which it was kind of shocking for me to hear, because we're not camping people.
Yeah, I mean, you could haul around a camper and probably, and I'm kind of asking this, but probably just park it overnight in a Walmart. You know what I mean, or in a parking lot.
Well, there's
So
lots of camping sites that you can do it properly. I
yeah,
think I
okay.
think you probably get the police called on you if you do that in a Walmart.
Well, I know in the States, I'm pretty sure Walmart opens their parking lot at nighttime for people to stay overnight
Oh,
camping.
I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
I think it's kind of a business ploy too, where, if those people are staying overnight there, they're probably going to shop for groceries or whatever they need, right? But they allow overnight parking in their lots for campers. Like, I don't think you can just set up tent and stay there. I think it's just like one night, and like, because
Right.
people are just moving, right? So they'll park there, wake up the next morning and go.
Yeah, I can see that. But anyways, we don't want to talk about my vacation on our show.
Well, I think it's interesting. I really do. But
Yeah, it was fun. But like I
and
said, I'm happy to be back. My AD,
we have a lot of East Coast listeners like Randy, right? So
yeah, well, and also like for Jamie, he does his podcast
yeah,
with, I think it's John, right?
yep,
John, and
he's
John's
out
out
there.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't do any thrifting out there. I thought, oh, I'll look for John in the stores, but no.
So I guess the last question would be: Do you think it's worth the trip? Like, once you're out there, I guess the drive's a little bit of a pain, but once you're out
Mhm.
there, do you think it's worth going just to see something different part of Canada?
Oh yeah, and the people are really friendly out there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, oh, I highly recommend it. Yeah, it.
Okay.
I think plan your trip. Like I said, um, be prepared to do a lot of driving. Don't assume the hotels are not going to be booked because we ran into that a little bit too.
Okay.
Uh, but no, I think if you're going to do camper, there's probably lots of sites for that out there too, where a lot of people will do that. We didn't obviously look into that, but no, I would definitely recommend it.
Okay. Yeah, we're definitely looking at doing that next year and getting a camper. We kind of looked at it this year, but I mean, we wouldn't have used it all maybe but once, right? So next year we'll
Yeah,
kind of plan around it. Um, but no, that's awesome. I look forward to hearing more about it probably after the show because
yeah.
we like I don't think we're going to go out there and change our mind this year, but we were planning. That was one of our plans. But you, unfortunately, you did say this. You didn't get a chance to do any picking, Carl.
I know, no picking. It's like I was tempted if we had driven like and seen a Value Village or like a thrift store right in front of me, I would have said, okay, let's just take a little break and go in. But no, and it didn't really come up as an opportunity. So no, no buying. I'm afraid. So I
All
can't
right.
write off the whole trip.
Well, the only reason I would be interested to see what's out there is for the fact of is there different items to pick?
Yeah, that would have been good to check out. I know John does a lot of clothing because of the different items they have out there. It's like when we watch shows of like resellers, we kind of discount that, but we always forget how different it can be in each different place. Like you have someone like the Golden State Picker who's in California, who's like in a gold mine, it sounds like, of high value stuff. And then you have like John, who's on the East Coast, does a lot of clothing because that's what's available in your area. You have a lot of like 18th and 19th century stuff, where here in Ottawa it's more 19th and 20th century stuff. So, you know, it can make a big difference in what you can get a hold of. One thing I did do this weekend though is I was at my parents' cottage, and they had a place where you dump out your garbage, right? Like officially.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I went to the town hall, and I'm looking at the baskets, and it's like, oh man, there's remotes in here. There's like DVD VHS combos in here,
Wow.
and they were more than happy for me to take them. So I got some free stuff. Free was good. We'll
Yeah.
see if it works.
Well, free is
Uh,
always good for sure.
yeah. So in those small towns, maybe you have access to that stuff and you don't even know it. I think you know, uh, desperation sometimes makes us expand our resources, and sourcing has become a little more difficult in some ways. Maybe it's a good thing to kind of expand our streams of sourcing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I've been very fortunate. There's been weekends where I've seen a little bit different in the yard sales, and I'm
Yeah,
kind of worried, but something always pops up during the week, a private pick or
yeah,
an auction or something. And I feel very fortunate, especially listening to other people's stories where I've had no problems finding stuff. Like I'm finding stuff that I didn't even intend on buying,
yeah,
like that sterling pocket watch chain from the
yeah,
early or late 1800s, early 1900s with the fob on it. Like
yeah.
I wasn't even going for that for $2 box. I was going for
I
the
know.
pocket watch that was in there, and that was like $400, man. You know what I mean?
I love that stuff. Like I love the smalls. Like when I was at, I know I haven't asked you how your week is. I'm gonna, or 2 weeks, I guess. I'm gonna ask you, but like I
It's
was
all right.
gonna say, I was at. I'm obsessed with this flea market. I got my ADHD brain
Yeah,
is locked into this subject and won't shut up about it. It's horrible. Everyone around me is like, they're just like keeling over from me babbling about this stupid flea
dude,
market.
babble to me. I'm like that as well. Go ahead, because I enjoy that talk. Right, that's a good subject, right?
I
So
mean, I'm starting to annoy myself.
yeah, it's fine.
Anyways, so is there? Okay, so I don't, they had to move my booth. So you remember I said that I had a booth?
Yeah,
Well, they asked me to move it because I there was an empty one next to it,
yeah,
the one I was going to take, and someone wanted a double. So they asked if I would take a different booth so someone could have a double, right?
yeah,
And I said, yeah, sure, fine, as long as it's not like the dregs of the flea market. And so I had to pick up a max sold auction lot, anyways, down
yeah,
there near there. So I thought, well, I'll just pop by and see where they moved me to.
yeah,
And so I went in there, and one of the guys I know, I've come to know there, he was so happy. He got like a big bag just full of like, I don't admit, like random stuff. Like the stuff you get in the box lots, like
yep, yep.
pins and ribbons and like ball openers and all that stuff for $10. And you just look in there for $10, you got all this, not literal gold, but there could be gold in there, right?
Right,
And
right.
silver, like you got. And the best thing for him for that sourcing is all he had to do is sit on his butt. And
Yeah,
someone came in and brought it to him. Like that to me is, oh, that would be amazing.
yeah. Well, I'm concerned about what you're saying there. Did they give you a good spot? Because I would have said
Oh,
no
right.
unless I want to come in and check the spot first. Like I've already signed off on this, right? So
I was signed up. And I
so
was concerned about that.
yeah,
Um, so I was kind of happy to, you know, to go in there and check it out, right? Because I'm not going to rely too, like what I didn't want was there's a basement spot there. And I
yeah.
do not want the basement
No,
because no one goes down the basement and it stinks in the basement, even more so than the rest of the place.
yeah,
And I didn't want to be next to a music guy. Like there's a guy who plays records all day, which is fine, but I'd be irritated by that. I know myself. So, and I didn't want to create waves, right? Like it's like I'm not even there yet, and I wanted to see, and uh, I wasn't like the spot that they given me was good, but it wasn't like the best spot ever, right? So I went in, and it's further down, but it's like it kind of the flea market. It's kind of weird. It's in like an old cattle barn or something like that. It's strange,
yeah,
and the side I was on was kind of a shorter branch of that barn, or not even a barn. I don't even what you call it, a cement building, and mine more to the right, and further down a little bit, but more populated area.
So
So in one way,
you're better.
so so in one way, I'm further from the entrance,
Yeah.
but in another way, I'm in a more populated area with more booths.
Okay.
Right, so it's a balance. It was a comedy of things though, because I don't know who wants to hear this, but when I originally were moving me, I bought pegboard off of someone, right?
Right.
Because they were closing down their booth. And now that they moved me, the booth they're moving me into already had pegboard
Oh my
all
god.
set up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the person who's moving out said, "Oh, we're just leaving the pegboard."
Oh
And
God.
right, so it's like, oh, so the owner of the flea market was great though. Mark
Yeah.
was great. He said, "Oh, don't worry about it, man. Like, I'll just buy the pegboard off the other guy, and you'll have free pegboard." So in the end, it worked out. But
Oh
for me, the big thing with that is I've always said you can always tell how good someone is in business, not when things go right, but when things go wrong,
yeah.
right? And when things were like there was a hiccup here, because like there were some dates changes with this as well. It's like he dealt with the problem and he dealt with it quickly, and like I really appreciated that. So in the end, where I'm going is not a problem. Like uh
I probably would have been a little bit more standoffish. I
yeah,
probably would have said, "Listen, I'm a very because you're just new to the place, right? So you don't want to create too much issues or like,
I didn't
but
want to be that guy.
yeah, but I would have said like listen, I don't have a problem changing. I'm a very easy to get along with person, but I really like this area that I'm in. So if I can get like to an area that's pretty close to the same type of atmosphere, I don't mind changing. But I did already sign off on this. And if you do feel that you really want to move me, can you kind of put it in your brain or like write it down like as a note that when another booth in this area comes available, I have first option to move into that area. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
said, like
yeah,
I wouldn't mind being reasonable about it, but honestly, I picked that booth right because that's where I want to be.
yeah, and all that went through my head too. There's always a balance, right?
Yeah,
You don't want to be a pushover, but I didn't want to make a fight over something that didn't have to even be a fight. I said the only thing is that when I picked the original booth, I picked it based on the fact that there was a new person going in on one side and another one person booth on the other side, which meant that if I decide to expand to two booths, there's much higher chance that one side or the other would be leaving,
right,
as opposed to some other booths where someone's been there for like 10 years and has literally grown roots there, right? So that's one disadvantage where I'm going. I mentioned that to the owner, Mark, and he said, "Well, just let me know if you ever want to go to two booths, and we'll mark it down that when they come available, you'll be on the list to get it." Right.
okay,
So,
perfect. And you want them side by side because you're going to man them
oh,
yourself. So
you have to man them. Yeah.
yeah, no, but you're not going to have someone else man a booth like a whole section over, like away that you can't even watch. So he knows that, right? Like I have three booths, but two are side by side, and the other one's downstairs. But I don't have to man them. They're not going to put
No,
they're not going to put you down for two booths, and then when one comes up a mile away,
no, they wouldn't do that.
okay,
Yeah, no, they realize you have to man it.
okay,
A lot of people actually do have a 20 by 10, I guess,
yeah,
as opposed to the 10 by 10.
yeah.
Um,
20 by 10, in my experience, is the like. I mean, there's only so much floor space you can manage, but a 20 by 10 is very manageable, and you're going to do better. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you have to physically be there anyways,
yeah,
right? So
yep,
whether it's a 10 by 10 or 20 by 10, it doesn't really make a difference except you have twice as much inventory.
yeah,
So it probably means not twice as much sales, but maybe 50% more sales, right? But I really need to see if I like this or not
yeah,
because I don't trust myself. I don't trust myself in terms of like what I like and don't like until I've done it. But I also get really excited by classic ADHD trait is I get really excited about something until I do it, and then the excitement dies, right?
right,
So what I want to make sure is that it doesn't die in this case. Like I get, hey, no matter how much you enjoy stuff, going every Sunday, there's going to be Sundays you're like, I don't want to go, right? No matter what, even when you enjoy stuff, there's going to be that. Like that I
for sure.
accept.
Yep,
It's like, but if it's like a month of that where I'm just resenting having started this, that's what I'm worried about. But I'll try the 10 by 10. I'm having lots of fun buying all the toys for it. I bought a square so I can take a credit card and Apple Pay and all that.
oh wow,
Yet it's not that much. It was $70, less than $70 for the square. and they take less than 3% per transaction.
Yeah.
So
Huh.
yeah, it's not that bad. Now I haven't actually used it yet or gone in it, to be honest, but like I ordered it. And being creative of all the different like things I'm gonna set up in the booth and all that stuff. I like that creativity too. It's fun for me.
Takes away the cash option though. Like that's the problem.
Well, it had cash too, cash or credit.
Yeah. Okay.
So I I'm gonna guess here, but I know what you're saying. I am a good boy, so it's that doesn't really affect me. But here's the thing: a lot of people don't carry cash anymore,
Oh
and
yes,
a
they
lot of
do. Yes, they do. Buyers like that carry cash. Trust me, they carry cash. And if I'm wrong, uh, Randy, who has experience doing this, let me know. But they'll have a bank machine in
there is a bank
probably
machine.
three locations there where you can,
There is a bank
and
machine.
they're feeding the frenzy with the bank machine money.
Right. So there's a bank machine there, but not everyone trusts those machines for one. I don't trust them. But number two, um, there's no real cost for me to do this. It's three. I know. I can see in your eyes.
I
I wish
know.
people could see the video. I just see your eyes. It's like change color almost. Like it's. I know what you're saying. It's not just a way of like how to do transactions. But for me, I don't mind. So I'd rather give options. The other big one, we'll get off that subject, that tricky subject, is the second one is pricing everything. A lot of people don't price everything, and a lot of people don't think you should price everything. So that's going to be the other big debate. But here we are. We're talking about my flea market booth. It's been 20 minutes. I don't even have a flea market booth. How was your week, Scott? How was your 2 weeks?
My 2 weeks have been great.
Yeah.
Like absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I sold that adding machine I picked up for $10. I still have the lid, but I sold that for 450.
Wow.
Sold my Mexican armadillo folk art
Yep.
piece for $600.
Oh,
Um, and it's like war military helmets sold. I sold a couple Canadian helmets, knives. I mean, the last couple of weeks have just been crazy out of the booth and crazy online. And the helmet was obviously in my booth, but the folk art, Mexican folk art piece, and the adding machine were both on eBay. And I had some decent sales on Etsy too, to believe it or not. Like I don't know
what?
what woke up there, but yeah, Etsy woke up there for a few days.
All
I
I get
sold
from
a Kiss
Etsy.
ashtray. I
Yeah.
sold a lawn bowling ball
Yeah.
that I had nothing in. I picked it up a long time ago at an estate. I started out with $500. This lawn bowling ball was from the 1800s. It was
Oh, I remember this.
it was like 1870s. I think it was right around, and I might get my dates a little mixed up, but it was right
Yeah.
around kind of the Civil War era. But it was from Wales. So if you know anything about lawn bowling in Wales, uh,
Oh, do I?
yeah, yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, like in England, they banned it. They banned it over there because people were gambling with it in the 1800s. So in
Oh,
the
okay.
in the later 1800s, around like 2 years before whatever that was on this bowling ball, it was all monogrammed, had a person's name, had the bowling. It would have been like a club, a lawn bowling club.
Right.
It still existed. I looked it up. So, anyways, this would have been 2 years after the ban had expired. They allowed people to start playing it again, and this bowling ball was 2 years after that, and it belonged to this bowling club, lawn bowling club, which probably it might have been its first year in existence, this lawn bowling club, because they probably came out of that little air time of where it was illegal. And so, anyways, and this lawn bowling club, you can go. People are interested, I will go back and check it out because it'll be
Right.
on my eBay store or my Etsy store, I guess, because it's sold there. But I can find out, and you can look it up. But it's an old club, and it still exists. They have like a website and everything.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, anyways, I put it up for 500, and then I dropped it to 400, and I held it probably for a year and a half. And it eventually sold for $225. So,
How
and
often
that
do
was
you
on Etsy.
how often do you drop prices?
Um, it depends. Honestly, Carl, there's a lot of things. How do I price a bowling ball like this? Most of them go for like $100.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some might be a little less, some might be a little more, but that's kind of their right around range. So, how do I price that? Right. So I'm gonna start high, I'm gonna shoot for the sky. If
Yeah.
4 months, 6 months go by and there's some views on it, I'm probably a little high. So then I would drop it, right? So
It can be
I
hard
wasn't
to
gonna go
tell.
any lower than $200. And
No.
I probably dropped the 225 probably about 6 months ago. Like I said, I had this for a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
So I know exactly where I got it out of. Um, so the guy, I don't know if you remember, but I picked where the guy was a firefighter. He passed away, and his wife was moving
Yeah.
from this location to out by Toronto, and
Yeah,
I
I
picked it
remember
up.
that. Yeah.
I picked it up that time. That's where I picked it up. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I guess I forget where I am exactly in my conversation, but overall, it
I
was
was
just
asking I was
it's great.
asking like how do you like decide to like for me, like not just with like obviously one object, but generally 4 months after 4 months, like I'll take my oldest listings and them drop them by 10% and relist them. I don't even really pay much more attention than that, to be honest. Unless I happen to know something that's really expensive that has no movement. It can be hard to tell though. Like I had a magazine sell this week for 100 American, and I had a problem pricing that because it seemed so far out of reach of all the other magazines, right? But obviously it was in the right price range. But because sometimes you don't really know how high to go. Sometimes, nothing worse than pricing something that high and then it sells within 5 minutes, and you realize you didn't even go high enough, right? But we're always kind of guessing.
Yeah. Well, I just my Heathkit robot I finally got to
Oh
and
yeah,
listed.
yeah,
I'm actually just finished up a video last night. I was up to
yeah,
2:30 in the morning doing a video. But I finished the video, it's edited and it's gonna be put up probably today. Um and it's all in the Heathkit robot. And you know, some of the comps, these things are rare. So some of like I parted out because it's too heavy to ship. It's gonna break. It's gonna like there's a lot of plastic pieces, metal pieces. It's very heavy. So I decided to part it out, and I'm probably gonna make more, hopefully. But some of the parts had they sold like 2 years ago. You know what
yeah,
I mean? So you
yeah.
got $150 2 years ago. What do I price it at now? So I would bump it up there and see what happens. I'm getting a lot of views on a lot of these things. And honestly, one piece sold within 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes of listing it. And it was a little circuit board. It was
Yeah,
about maybe 4 inches by 3 inches. You know what I mean? And then it's very thin. A little circuit board for $200.
crazy.
And I've got, I don't know, 10 circuit boards out of this thing, maybe more. You know what I mean? So so other people are viewing different ones,
Yeah.
but I got most of the time I got 75 to 150 depending on the circuit board. But some of the circuit boards I put $200-300 on.
Oh wow.
So do I know that they're going to sell for that price? I have no clue. Am I pricing it way too high? I don't. I might be pricing it way too cheap. I don't know. I
It's,
don't know.
some stuff drives you nuts like that, right? It's like, what do you really can you get from some stuff? And it's like, you know, for the circuit boards, maybe that one particular one was worth a lot of money and others aren't. You never know, right? Like you
Well,
have to
you
guess.
don't know, but I don't really care
No,
because
you got
I
the
already
money.
made my money back
Yeah,
and profit on the one circuit board.
yeah,
And I know the other ones will sell. It's just do I start when do I start bringing it down? I have the arm alone for
yeah,
$650. Now it has sold in the past for 650 line through it, so who knows what they really settled on,
yeah,
but it's at least worth $400. But mine comes with the motor and the circuit board. So I thought, okay, if they listed 650 and they got a little lesser, I'm going to list mine for 650, but I'm adding more to it. Like there's a circuit board and the motor, it's all attached.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
right?
it's
So
hard, man.
it's
It's
hard.
hard.
So I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't think that's I don't think that's unreasonable because you're getting more for the same money that that person listed it for, and he
yeah.
still got some sort of a sale out of it.
And honestly, once it's gone, you're probably gonna forget about it anyways, right?
Oh, I've already forgotten about
Yeah.
it.
For that, for
What are we
those
talking
line
about? I forget it. I don't know.
for solds with lines out through them, if I'm really curious, what I do is I just order by high. Like in this case, it wouldn't work because there's only one sold, but there's a whole bunch of solds. If you order it from high to low or low to high, you can at least get a range of where that cross out is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can see, if you can see like where you can actually see what things sold for above and below it, you know the range of where that cross out is. That can help a little bit, but honestly, it I don't do that often. But
Yeah, and you got to remember, like these things are very rare, and there's none available, which
yeah,
tells me a couple things. There's definitely been solds in the past,
yeah,
so these things come up so rarely that if somebody really needs the part, they're going to pay a little bit extra. They may cringe about it, they may cry about it, they may throw things at the wall because things are so expensive, but they're still going to get it because they got no other choice.
they might send you a nasty message saying, "How dare you ask that much?"
Well, I don't think I'm asking crazy amounts because I tried to keep it relative. Some of the like honestly, Carl, some of the stuff I might be like there's circuit boards I put $75 on.
Yeah,
But I put the 75 price tag on it because I'm like, who the heck's gonna pay more? You know what I mean?
you feel
I
guilty
can't have
all.
everything at $200-300, right? So I put $75. I'm very happy with that.
Yeah,
But there's none available for me to even check. I had one of the things, and doing it wrong kind of set me straight on this, made me, and I knew it, but I was I was Scott the lazy reseller at this point. Like if
hey,
it's not on .ca, I got to go to ebay.com,
right.
right? Because I'm going to see a whole different amount of product there that just
Oh
doesn't come
yeah,
up with the
that
ebay.ca
that's a
search.
good point. That's a good point. Yeah, when checking comps, always check .com.
Yes.
Yeah,
And not only do I check.com, I also do a Google on it, right? Because if it
yeah,
comes up, I might be calling it the wrong thing. I might, not so much for the Heathkit robot thing because they're pretty much Heathkit Robot Hero 2, and then you just put like the name of the circuit board is on the circuit board. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So, but for the most part, I might be calling it wrong. So I might Google it. I'll Google Lens it just to find a name, that kind of thing.
yeah,
But anyway, I don't know. Overall, I can't complain.
yeah.
Things are going very well. Um, the only, and I've said this 1,000 times, the only thing that's holding me back is me not putting out more listings. And I'm working hard at the listings, and
I know
eventually I'm
you
going
are.
to get,
I'm checking up on you. You are
yeah,
definitely working hard.
yeah. So I'm just going to keep putting more and more stuff out there. So
Yeah,
eventually, but on my eBay's at the highest it's been as
yeah,
far as my 30-day average. My booth probably, well, there's no question this year is way surpassing any year I've ever had, like blowing it away.
yeah.
And I know I have that third booth compared to other years, but that booth is tenfold what the other booths were doing, and it's downstairs, which makes a difference, but it's crazy. You know what I mean? So, you put a third booth in there, you hope to expand a little bit in your profits, but it's
So the
been
world
blowing the
isn't
other two booths
collapsing
away.
for you. Sales aren't collapsing. We're not all like turning to ball caps to pay for things.
Well, I'm going to say no, but I'm in a different situation because I'm adding a lot more inventory.
Right.
So, yeah, like there's sales and it's been good. Like, okay,
Oh,
the
awesome.
booth is a different story, but we're kind of niched locally. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
But on eBay, like there's some days that I'm like, I'm not even getting watchers on this stuff. What the heck's going on? You know what I mean?
It's
And then
so
there's
easy to
days,
come up with conspiracy theories. Like
well,
I was
I try to stay away from that. I just
thinking,
like, okay, let's go look at the booth. Let's see what the
yeah,
booth's doing today. But like the other day, like there was cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Like there was really a
right.
lot of sales, and Etsy had two. They had three like within a short period of time. But I might get one sale on Etsy a month. I haven't listened for since like
Right.
December.
All
You know what I
all
mean?
I have on Etsy is like fees I have to pay for like the relisting. I have
Yeah.
one listing and they charge me 30 cents or whatever it is.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
the only stuff I get on Etsy. That's all me though.
Yeah.
I have another thing I have to deal with too, which is like a return to United States, and you can go pick it up, and it's like it's been there such a long time. They're like, "What the hell are you doing?" It's been there
Yeah.
for a year. Anyways, that's a totally different subject. What I wanted to mention was like, um, when you do Google Lens, you can put it in eBay as well. Like when you do it with your phone, you can type in the word eBay with the image. That
Yeah.
will give me back so many good results. But you know what? The other thing I wanted to mention about .ca and .com is the offers are different for both sites. I forgot about that. So if you go on the .com and you have like you can send out 20 offers.
Yeah.
If you list on .ca, the .ca offers are not on the .com. So you have to go on .ca and you might have 5 offers just on your Canadian listings for
Oh, I
anyone
see what you're
who's on
saying.
both sites.
Oh,
I forgot about
very,
that. I
very
forgot
good.
about that.
Very, yeah. Well, I appreciate
Uh,
that for sure. That's a good insight.
but no, it sounds like everything is going well for you. So
Yeah. I mean, eBay is, I mean, the more items you list, the
yeah,
more items are out there. It's
yeah,
just numbers game at that point. So it makes sense. So if I was listing the same, if I had the same amount of listings as I did a year ago, would I be doing as good? I don't know, but I probably have about 200 more listings than this time last year. You know what I mean? So I like, to me, things are going well. You know what I mean? So I can't
it's
complain.
funny. It's funny. I'm gonna have the opposite for eBay listings. I'm gonna do a huge purge and get rid of all those low value items in my store, and I have a lot of them. I have 450 of them at least under $15.
Yeah,
So I'm actually going to do a big purge and put them in the booth. I'm not going to do that right away. I'm going to wait for a little bit. So my numbers are actually going to go down a lot, but that's okay. I don't really want to ship out
yeah, but
stuff.
at least you know why,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's okay. I'm going to do this. It's going to hurt the sales, but in the long run, it's going to clear up a lot of my issues around the house or whatever. You know what I
Well,
mean? So
it's going to clear out a lot of like items that probably will never sell,
yeah,
right? Or if they do sell, I make $3 off of them, and I have to
right,
ship them and everything. Like it's just not worth it, right?
right.
So actually, and I think what we talked about before is like it's the if you can reach the combination of like the items that sell between $1 and $20 you have in your booth, and like um the higher end stuff you have on eBay, that's not too hard to ship, of course. There's a good combo, so we're gonna figure that out. But
Yeah, I mean the rule is you list good stuff, people will buy it. But you know what? I listed good stuff for sure. Like for instance, that bowling ball on eBay. I
yeah,
mean, to me, that's a great item. It's an old item. Somebody appreciated it for 250 or $225. However, I look on eBay and there's 4 views.
but honestly, what's the chances if you had that in the booth? What's your chance of someone walking by your booth that's going to pay $200 for an old
No, I agree.
ball?
That's why it's not in my booth.
Exactly.
But
That's what.
but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is I can say people. I'm kind of saying something different. I'm saying people say put good stuff in your store and people will buy it. Well, I think the bowling ball was a great item. It was an antique item, but nobody's searching for that. You know what I mean? There was 4 views, so you can
Right.
say it's a good item, but if you're only getting 4 people looking at it, and that doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to sell. You know what I mean? So I know I'm in the area that I'm in, and sometimes things are long tail items.
Yeah.
So even though it's a good item, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sell very quickly. You know what I mean?
No, like sometimes you just have to wait for the right customer.
You
But
gotta wait. You gotta wait. You gotta wait for sure.
yeah.
I'm in that. I'm in that genre of items. So I've already dealt with it. I've been doing this for over 9 years now. So I get it. But just because it's a good item doesn't mean it's going to like fly off the shelf or fly out of your door to someone on eBay, right? It still
Yeah.
might take a little bit for someone to the right buyer to come along and want that.
Not to get into numbers, but that's why the turnover rate can be very interesting. And like you have people who just care about the turnover rate of their inventory. And for them, that might make sense. But for other people, that's not as big as of an appeal, because if the item is not taking up a lot of room, it doesn't. You don't have a lot of capital invested in it. You're much more willing to wait a long time to get that extra 50 or $100 rather than try and flip it quick, right? Or even if you had the price for 200, or if you had the price for 100, the same person would have bought it at 200 or 100, right? Like the price wasn't a big factor. But that's another subject.
And
That's
and
like,
and I agree 100%, Carl. And I think where people are having issues with this, and I'm just popped in my head now, so I could think about it an hour from now, change my mind. But I think people are going to go online. They're going to see a bowling ball from 1870, let's say 1880, sold for $225. So they're going to pay $75 for that thing. But they might not realize that it takes a year and a half for that thing to sell. So
exactly.
you
And
don't want to invest $75 in something that's going to take a year and a half to sell. You want to kind of invest maybe 10 or $15 at
that's a
most,
really good point.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to take a while to sell.
Having
So
that capital invested for such a long time, especially if you have other uses for the capital, right?
yeah,
If you're saying I can't buy anything because I have $75 invested in that bowling ball, then yeah, you definitely want that higher turnover rate. But like, you don't treat all items equally either. Like, you have those soles, right, for shoes.
right.
You're not treating the same as the bowling ball. You're not putting uber high prices on the soles, because the turnover rate is very different there, and you probably even have competition. So it's like, you can't just come up. Like, people can't just come up with like blank statements. Of course, you have to kind of look at each individual item.
100%. And all where I got this bowling ball, I know exactly where I got it. I had very little invested initially, but overselling the stuff from there, like we made bank, and I really had nothing listed. So I was willing $225. I was willing just to just stay at that price. But if you're paying $75 because somebody sold for 225 and you're gonna hold on it for a year and a half, I mean, I think that's the wrong math. I think you have to kind of put everything into perspective. So I'm really under the impression that most things are going to take a little while to sell. You know what I mean? I try to keep a
Yeah,
really safe distance from paying too much. And so far it's worked out, and so far I've been lucky. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of stuff to buy. So
sweet.
all right, Carl, that's it for a show. Oh wait,
No,
what do we got?
we go into comments.
We go to comments. All
So I'll
right.
start with the first one.
Okay. What one's the first one?
Doing it wrong. IMO is in my opinion.
Oh yes.
Sometimes IMHO is honest opinion. Sorry, I guess that's nerd speak, not common speak. No, doing it wrong. Everyone knows that. I was bugging Scotty about it before the show, saying like, obviously you have not worked in an office where we use acronyms constantly. So that one, I'm glad you made that comment.
So we got a comment from Randy here. Hi, Scott and Jamie. I really wish I had a booth selling some items mostly. And just to let you know, Carl,
Yeah,
Jamie's got a booth too, right? You knew that?
yeah, I know he has an antique booth. Yeah,
Yeah. So he almost expanded it, but he just wasn't right for him at this time. So, but
yeah,
he had the option to expand.
yeah,
Selling some items, mostly hats and a few jackets, through a location about 15 minutes away, and another retailer locally with some jewelry I should never had purchased. A
yeah.
booth
Tell me
would give
about
me
it.
a better opportunity. Yeah, you know what? Like it's it's funny, right? Because sometimes, like I totally think that way as well. But just because in Randy, this is just kind of a question, okay? So
Here it
but if
comes.
we bought something that we really should have bought in the first place,
Right,
does that worthy of a booth? You know what I mean? Like are we just trying to dump it off a different direction, a different way?
right. That's a good
Like
point. Like, you guys were making fun of my Avon jewelry, right?
yes.
And it's like, is it going to sell in the booth? Like, I would open a booth just to sell this goddamn Avon jewelry, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm not going to try. So I
Yeah.
can see what you're saying though. Like with the hats, he's saying here in the jackets. Like, yeah, you wouldn't, and it's 45 minutes away for him. 45 minutes. So that's quite far. Mine's an hour actually away for the flea market.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. You don't want to open a place just to get rid of your low end, low quality, low demand stuff, right?
Like, so if I make a mistake, I'll put it in the booth, or if it's got a little bit more patina than I thought, maybe it'll go in the booth just because people can see it there and I don't have any returns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it also does allow me to buy, like, for instance, toys, so I can search for the home runs and I can just bag up for the kids that come through the booth and stuff like that. Some other ones, sometimes
Yeah.
they'll just be collectors too, and there might be something in there that I missed,
Yeah.
or there might be something in there that is worth like $10 or $12 online, but I'm not going to deal with it. So I'll put it in a bag with a bunch of other stuff for like $5. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Batman and Spider-Man stuff. But they want that kind of stuff for their collection, right? So I
You
don't
know,
just buy it because it was a mistake.
it came along with other stuff.
It kind of came along with other stuff.
Yes. Okay. That's a really good point because that's what basically. So I have next to me a little tower.
Yeah.
Audibly, this is really exciting, but there's a little tower here, a plastic tower,
Yeah.
and everything in this tower is going to be 50 cents.
Okay.
And so a lot of the stuff that's in the tower that's 50 cents is going to be the stuff that came along in a bag with other stuff. So just this last weekend, right, I picked up a bag of toys and from the flea market actually for $5. And in there was Mighty Max figures, which is and some Polly Pocket, which I really wanted, right?
Yeah.
But the rest of it's just garbage toys. So what do I do with the garbage toys? Do I throw them out? Or do they go my 50 cents for any toy on here and just see if they go? If they don't go for 50 cents, right? Eventually I'll just either bag them in a big lot, like you said, or just donate them, right?
Yeah.
But this is no work. Just dumping thing in this thing here. And this big, like it's a rack of like 6 shelves. And it's pretty small. It'll be perfect for that. But you're right. Like you do get a lot of extra stuff that's not valuable, but you could get a little bit of money on it in.
Yeah, like, or I watch other people online and they're selling things for like $5, $6, $7 toys. I'm not going to do that because, first of all, Canadian shipping is a lot different than the US and it's going to
Yeah.
cost us more. But I got the booth that'll take that away, but they're not valuable as in like home runs by any means, but they still have some sort of desirability where people will pay for them.
That's the thing. So you like say you have a generic, like you already mentioned it, Batman figure, right?
Yeah.
There's no demand for that. Like I understand generic, like not a collectible piece, right?
Yeah.
Put that online for $5, but it could be there for 20 years because no one actually wants that.
Yeah.
But if you put that same figure in your 50 cent or $1 or whatever pile, someone is going to buy that for their kid because they don't care.
Yeah.
And then you got $1 out of it, which you probably would have got 0 out of it. But that's not the main point of the booth. The main point of the booth is all the other stuff. But this is kind of like that weird in-betweener, right?
So I got a question for you, Carl. And this is kind of based on what you said the last time.
Okay.
Say you got a bunch of stuff on that shelf. Let's say Batman figures, and you got 50 cents a piece.
Right.
And somebody wants 15 of them and offers you $10. Would you take that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would actually.
Okay.
Because in this case, it's pretty well, they're valueless to me.
But what if they want to pay with the debit?
I actually have my little sign said $10 and up, please.
Okay.
But I don't think it actually. The only reason mention that is because you just happen to like say the exact amount I have on there. I wasn't even going to talk about that because I think for the square, I think there's no fixed cost. I think it's just a percentage. If they do debit payment, there is a fixed cost. So I might put that. Anyways, you should probably cut this out. This is just funny that you just happen to hit a bullseye on the thing for the credit. But what the hell are we talking about? Oh, like for me, this is the junk that I had no use for before, right? But you don't want to just donate it, and we'll see. Like this is not gonna make me any money. This stupid 50 cents. Like
I'm just asking a question.
Oh man, you confused me now. What the hell? Where are we? What are we talking about?
I'm still on with Randy here.
Okay.
Should never have purchased. A booth would give me a better opportunity to stage things like that. I sell things on, and we do that from time to time. I'm sure he didn't mean to purchase it on purpose. He meant to purchase it because he thought it was better than what it was, and I do that as well.
Oh,
Like,
I got a whole
you know,
box of Avon jewelry over there, right?
I
Like,
would never buy Avon jewelry though.
I didn't know any better at the
I
time,
wouldn't even take it
but
for free.
oh,
But a
jeez,
booth would give me a better opportunity to
stab
stage
me in the
things
back.
as I like. I sell things on eBay all the time that I had just touched, but of course I am ignoring the 20 other things I touched the same day that
That
did
happened to me
not
this
sell.
week. This week that happened to me. And I was gonna bring that up in the show, saying this is how the stupid conspiracy theories come up. Like, all the other ones, like, okay, I know a lot of people have a different opinion. Please forgive me. But all this eBay's blocking me stuff. I think it's the equivalent of like I touched something and it sold. Everyone knows touching something in your inventory and it sells didn't make it sell. Everyone knows that, right? But people dismiss it because it's so obviously not true. But all the other conspiracies that to me have just as much evidence, people believe because it's just not as obvious. Anyways,
I
pet
was really
peeve.
I was really just referring to the booth
Uh huh.
and the part of moving it around, and then I say people do say just touching it, and I'm like, and then I went off on a little tangent, which I'm about to do right now, but I'm like, maybe there's like some aura that comes off people's, like, their personal bodies when they touch something, and it just ignites that enough to kind of have a little aura for a short period of time where it speaks to someone and they buy it. But what I was really kind of getting at was, have you ever gone into an old abandoned house or an old house that people aren't living in anymore, and how empty and eerie it feels? Do you ever get like that?
Well, I'm new agey, so 100%, yeah. But I
What's
know a
new
lot of people
agey? What the heck is that?
new agey, like new age, like woo woo.
Yeah,
I'm totally into that stuff. So,
but new agey has been like that kind of stuff's been around for ancient times.
well,
Like,
now it's old agey.
that's old agey. You're new agey. Holy Christ!
Well, you're asking me if I'm woo woo, and yeah, I am woo woo.
So yeah, so I call it spiritual, but I
Sure.
think things are like that. Like, I think you can kind of ignite things with an aura by touching it for sure, or a room. It's energy more than anything. It's more of an energy. Um, but if you go in there where there's no people, there's no energy. It just seems hollow and eerie. But any comments, sir, before I finish Randy's last little?
No, you go ahead and finish Randy's.
Okay,
We'll have to save all the stuff for the Halloween episode or something.
yeah, that's a good idea. Good call. And then he puts, yes, Jamie, mother knows best. Because if he touches it a lot, it goes blind.
Oh, right.
He could go blind, which
Okay.
is very funny. So, well, thanks for the comment, Randy.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
doing it wrong, we're going to read another comment, so we'll thank him after that comment. But who do we have now? Who's back?
Dawn. Dawn.
All right,
Okay.
you're going to get this one, Carl.
Yeah, I'll get this one. Everyone sit back, relax, make some coffee. Welcome back, Jamie. If you're dealing with ding dongs, you're dealing with ding dongs. Deep Scotty. Sorry, Carl isn't
Hey,
here,
it's
so you can
true.
stand
It's
in.
true.
I don't know Jamie enough to bug him. Okay. I agree with having more than one avenue for selling if you're able to. For me, I'm on Etsy and eBay with a little bit of Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, I see all Dawn's because I'm a Facebook friend with Dawn. I see all her crap. It's like here's all her like glass and stuff like that. Dawn, you can turn it off that so friends don't see all your garbage that you're posting online, and it's just for Facebook Marketplace. Just suggesting it. Where I'm
Wow, Carl.
bashing Dawn here. Where am I? Oh yeah. In order to do a booth, I need to get one in London, and the odds of me actually keeping up with it every week are low. Plus, with paper items I source these days, I am not sure I'll be able to get much for it locally. Yeah, so these are all good points. Like the Etsy market is different than eBay. Like Adam always talks about how he can get more money for cameras
Yeah.
and other items on Etsy than eBay. Facebook Marketplace, if you have the patience to deal with that, I bow to you. I can't. Even just yesterday, someone was bitching to me about Facebook Marketplace. People not showing up. People not showing up with not enough money. People asking you to reserve it and then ghosting you. It's just like, if you can deal with that, more power to you.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to I'm just going to say one more thing here.
You know who would be interesting to have on would be, I don't know if you've ever asked or if he would agree to, is Ken.
I
Ken
did
would
ask
be,
Ken once to come on,
yeah.
or a couple times. It just never really. Yeah, maybe later or something. Like I don't think he really had the
You
interest.
not really interested? Okay.
But I would totally agree, especially
Because
now
he,
that he's owning his own store and stuff.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
what a
that'd be great.
transformation that was.
But I get it. Not everyone wants to do this, right? Like I always bug Dawn to go live, and she has zero interest in that. But like having different venues, like if I think most of our audience probably has experience, but even if you don't have to rush into everything. I think it's good to try stuff. Like I've tried stuff and it didn't work. Like I tried Facebook Marketplace, didn't like it. I had a little place at a flea market, and I didn't. It was great. I liked the guy who's running it, and it was fun, but it wasn't profitable enough for me. So you need to try stuff like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, that's one of the topics Jamie and I was talking about is, and I think to be a successful reseller, like there are certain places that you could do it. Probably you could do it alone on eBay. This is my opinion. Maybe it was you, Carl. We were talking about this too, but I think you have to have multiple avenues now. I just don't think you should be looking strictly at eBay, like eBay, Etsy, Poshmark, Macari, or eBay in a booth or a flea market. Or Facebook Market. Like I think you should probably have two, maybe three, maybe even up to four. You don't want to overextend yourself to the point where you're blowing your mind, but with cross listing and stuff like that, it makes it a lot simpler. But I think just to have one platform to sell on, I think is I think you're hurting yourself by just being narrow minded to one platform. Would you agree to that? What's your thoughts?
Well, I think it's more risky. People have been banned off eBay and Etsy before,
That's true.
right? I think if you're just starting, eBay is probably good enough. I think.
Oh, if you're just starting, yeah, you gotta. But I think if you want to go full time and you want to be a full
Oh, full
time
time. Yeah, I
reseller,
would. Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to have you got to pump out that stuff and you got to be able to source first of all. If you're having problems sourcing a lot of stuff, then you have to kind of work around that, right? So
yeah,
maybe something like a antique booth isn't the way to go until you can source a lot of stuff. But you know also
So
forcing yourself to look for more, like look at you, Carl. You're doing the flea market, and already you found a lot of stuff, right? Like you're buying more stuff now because you
it
wouldn't have bought this stuff in the past.
exactly like
So you're gonna learn. You're not gonna learn. You're gonna find more ways of sourcing more stuff.
it opens what I can buy, right?
Yes, it does.
So an example is, well, I don't want to go into too much, but like I bought a bunch of Minecraft figures. Each one will sell for about $1. I would never have touched that in the past because on eBay I couldn't even loading up. It wouldn't be worth my time. But honestly, what I'm doing now is I still buy for eBay, but anything extra that we just talked about is great for the booth. Where before I would have just donated it, or honestly, a lot of the stuff that's going into my booth is stuff I've accumulated over 4 years of
Yeah.
stuff that wasn't worth listing, but wasn't worth just donating. It was
So
the in betweens.
I
So I'm going to read the next comment from Dawn, so we can actually finish the show.
okay.
Jamie, I totally agree with you about Facebook Marketplace too. Usually it goes fine, but there's the occasional ding dong who screws around for several days, and it's not worth the $10 I'm asking for the item.
Ding
And
dongs, ding dongs,
ding
ding dongs.
dongs. Yeah.
Ding dong will be a ding dong.
Granted, as Carl and I have addressed, the stuff I sell on Marketplace is not great. No. I hate time wasters. She's glad that her absence was noticed.
Always.
Uh,
Yep.
always. Stallion express shipping prices are totally unbeatable from what I've seen. I'm so thankful for them. It's usually worth the drive into London twice a week. I'm still saving more than I'm spending on gas. Yeah, Stallion Express I hear is good. You were complaining about, like, you asked me if I thought prices were up for shipping.
Yeah, but did you see my second response?
No, I don't remember it.
I think it was just me. I overpacked it.
Oh, you overpacked
Right?
it.
I'm
Okay.
like, this little thing is costing this much, and then I'm like, well, let's try to reduce the packing and the like. It was a bit of a mirror, but it wasn't like a big mirror, so I put it in a smaller box, and it was actually very reasonable. So
Yeah,
I don't know, it was just me.
that's one of those things I need to work on. Is like there's certain jumps in shipping once
Yeah,
it reaches certain sizes, and I used to have that all written down. I've kind of forgotten about it, and it's been a while since I've had that sticker shock of going to ship something. Like, what the is
yeah,
going on?
and it was
Uh,
very reasonable once I got it down to actual something that it should have been at to begin with. I just want to say here that Jamie uses Stallion, I believe. He uses something. I think it's Stallion, and he drives into London as well. But he does a double whammy when he goes to London. He also goes to the Goodwill bins.
right.
So he's kind of going there to pick and going there twice a week to drop off shipments. So
Well, that's
packages.
good. Uh, yeah. For duties, Americans don't need to pay any duties on anything under $800. Yeah. Canadians have to pay duties on anything worth over $20. It's ridiculous. I do use Shipsy, owned by Stallion Express occasionally, and I have an import export number with CRA, so I pay less that way. Oh, okay. There are still Shipsy fees and the currency exchange to consider. Mostly I use Shipsy so I can order sleeves from the US because sleeves are so freaking expensive here. Actually, I never heard of Shipsy. I'll have to look into that. I don't know what that is. So I never bothered with an import export number with CRA. Like, I have thought about buying stuff from the United States for reselling, but honestly, it's just been low on my personal priority list.
Yeah, I buy lots of sleeves as well, and I buy them through Amazon.
Yeah, I think I do too, to be honest.
I don't know anything cheaper. I could probably check that out because if they're a lot cheaper, it might be worth it. But um, yeah, so that's a good point. Maybe that's why a lot of Canadians aren't buying off eBay is because of all the duties and stuff. So they should be buying more from Canadian resellers. So maybe we should like, is there a way to put like I'd like to put Canada in the title, like a Canadian flag or something, but then it might turn off some of the American buyers. Like I don't know if there's a remedy for that.
Yeah,
Do
I
you know what
definitely would not tell the Americans that we're Canadian. I think that
Yeah, I
I
think that as well.
with because of shipping policies, um I actually I don't even know what my point was going to be. I've forgotten it, but
That's right. It's age, Carl. It's age.
I know, right? So
In my opinion, I
in my
am old.
opinion, yeah. Jamie Tistis Etsy is for vintage and handmade items. Silly, yes. When Jamie got banned, I guess, for wearing jerseys.
Yes.
Lesson learned, though.
Yeah.
You can get away with stuff until you can't. Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great show, guys. What do you mean? I wasn't on the show. How could it be great? It was
It was the
mediocre.
best show ever. That's what I'm
Oh
being told.
man. Okay, you can do the next comment.
Well, we have one from Tina Mack.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Tina Mack
Well, it
on
was good.
Spotify because we do Spotify as well. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the stuff seems to be around YouTube, but we also do Spotify, which is growing very nicely, very steady. Tina Mack, and she lives somewhere near you. She goes to the same same uh, place where you are,
Yeah.
and she says, "Yep, I've been visiting the booth. Looking forward to it. I'll be visiting. Sorry, yep, I'll be visiting the booth. I look forward to it. So." That's where you're putting your booth up. So she lives somewhere near there. She said in an episode a couple episodes ago that she picks from there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Tina should definitely say hi. And September 1st is when I'm setting up. So probably won't be selling too much that day, but
All right, very good. So now we got one more from doing it wrong.
oh, almost to 100 subs, folks. Keep up the good stuff. Yeah. So far,
Yeah,
we're rocketing along.
yeah,
I think it took us like 5 months to get from like or 2 months to go from like 90 to 92. At this rate, we'll be at 100 probably by somewhere halfway next year.
Yeah, I think we're getting close to that 100 mark, and then it's just going to take off. Honestly, Spotify seems to be growing quicker.
Mm, well, that's good. I
Yeah,
can't tell at all from my side, but you know what? We do this because we enjoy the community, right?
yeah,
We're not doing it for any other real reason. So, I'm happy. You know what I really like is all the comments from the people who I feel I know, and I appreciate that. And Scott and I talk about it, gives us someone else to talk to about this stuff who isn't just going to roll their eyes and fall asleep.
yeah. I know.
So
I
that's
still fall asleep sometimes, Carl.
well, I'll stop listening to you halfway through, but that's okay. I usually come back onto the show and then I entertain myself.
We don't
I
even
agree
know
with
why
almost
we're
everything I
arguing with
say.
each other because we misunderstood what each other said because we didn't really hear everything. But no, it's fun show. I couldn't think of a better person to do it with as
Oh,
you,
thanks, man.
Carl, and Jamie whenever he can fill in. So
Thank you,
I mean, it's
Jamie.
a perfect world.
Yeah.
But you got no. You're. We always liked talking back and forth through texting or doing a quick phone call and just kind of talking about what our experiences is. So it's been great to do it on a show, right? So
Yeah. It's like these are the conversations we used to have, and now everyone can hear all the BS we say and then like bring it up later and call us out on it. It's good. Like I should go back and listen to the early episodes and see how much of the stuff I disagree with now.
yeah, it's probably a little too early for that. I don't know. We've only been doing it for like 7 months now. It's like
Oh yeah.
you shouldn't be disagreeing with what you said 7 months ago.
I hope so.
I don't know. I never thought of that way. I just figure I'm always right. So I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. No, I think if you can recognize that your imperfections and always trying to, and I've said this before, so I'm not just saying it, but I think if you're always trying to improve and change, and what might been absolutely right 6 months or a year or 2 years ago could be absolutely wrong now. So I think I'm always judging myself and judging sales and looking daily, but monitoring monthly, I guess, is really what you're the way to look at it. But I'm always trying to improve. So
Yeah, and like, for me, it's just trying things. It's like I'm not full time either, right? So I'm not always looking at things to make the most like go go go. So I think it's interesting having both perspectives as well. So yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add to this episode?
no, I think that's great. We didn't really have a topic. We kind of went off the idea that we'd have a lot to say because Carl wasn't here last week and we are just kind of catching up. So our topic is really just catching up. And
Yep.
then we got the comments and everything. So we love the comments. Everybody keep writing comments. We appreciate it so much. To me, the comments are a big part of the show. So they're like at least 50% of the show, maybe more. It depends if
Yep.
Don's writing or not.
Book or
So.
not, yeah. Oh, it brings up stuff that we might not have thought of too, or like just in a different opinion, or even just agreements.
Yeah, it's part
And
of the conversation. We got other people part of it too, right? So I enjoy that for sure. Um, we are on Spotify, so anybody wants to leave a comment on Spotify, I check that every week to just to bring that into the show. Um, you can't. You're saying you can't see the comments on your side, Carl?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Not on Spotify, but
okay. So the only reason is because I do the editing part of it, and which really isn't much work. I honestly I enjoy it. I'll put it in the background and just kind of work away and listen. And if like something stumbles, then I'll like go and fix it and go
yeah,
back to work. So
sweet.
um so that's probably the only reason you can't see on your side the comments, I guess, right? So maybe we can fix that where we both can get in there. I don't know.
Once we hit the big time and there's 1,000 comments, maybe I'll look into it.
Okay. Um all right. So is that's it for me, Carl? What about you?
Yeah, I think that's it. Like I'm still getting ready, still ordering a bunch of crap to put in my booth, ordering signs, ordering even little pegs to put on the boards, and like who knows, it's fun using my creative juices, and we'll see if how it actually works out in the end. And
Some places where I like to buy shelves or display cases, definitely Facebook Marketplace,
yeah, that's another good place to get them
and
too. Yeah.
be cheap, because you're going to see stuff where people are asking, you know, 5 grand for a display case, and you'll see places where people, well, on the extreme far end, they'll say, I got to get rid of this. Please just come and pick it up. It's free, but needs to be picked up. Or you might just get something for $50 or $100, right?
Yeah.
That's good. So, um, you'll see the whole gamut. Do not pay a lot for it. Just be patient, because eventually those display cases will come up very cheap. So, I've also, for shelving, looked at the Restore, but they're not cheap anymore. They used to be like $20 a shelf. Now they've like $80 to $100 just for a shelf, right?
Yeah, it's
So
funny. I went to Restore this week for the first time in months, and everything was really expensive there.
yeah, they just shot right up like in
So I
the
was like,
last
well,
six
why
months.
would anyone shop here if you're just going to
Yeah.
charge this
Well,
much?
ours is moving. The
Mm,
one here is moving or shutting down. But I'm like, it's because you guys are, nobody's buying there anymore. You're like, I don't even go there. I used to go there like once a week,
yeah,
or once every 2 weeks for sure. I don't even go there now. You know what I
that's
mean? It's
funny that
just,
you mentioned this because the exact same scenario here. I just went, like I said, I hadn't gone in months and months because I
yeah,
gave up, and
yeah.
I went this week, and it's like, yeah, I still give up.
Yeah,
So
the last time I went there was when the film crew was down, and they needed a sideboard for their film because they couldn't ship that from out east. So I said, "Well, I'll go down to the Restore." I did find one. It was in their price range, and it was actually a nice one. And I bought two things and resold them for and made good profit. I don't know why all of a sudden that day there was two things there, but there's never anything there. Everything's like super
yeah,
expensive.
it's funny. Yeah,
So I've got the hiccups now. So
perfect way. Okay.
all right. So all right, awesome. Good to see you, Carl. Good to see you
Yeah,
back.
you too. Thank you,
And
everyone.
and a big shout out to Jamie, Thrift on Fire. You can go check out his. He helped us out last week. When
Yeah,
one of
so
us away,
nice.
he's going to fill in. Thrift on Fire, and he is on YouTube, and he also has the Reseller A to Z on
Yeah,
it's a lie, or sorry, it's a podcast. So
yeah.
I don't know if
It's
he's
not
on
a.
Spotify or just doing.
Yeah, it's on. I listened to it in the car, so it must be on Spotify.
Okay.
It's to Z, not A. The letter A.
Right, like the Canadian,
The Canadian, yeah.
the Canadian A.
Yeah.
Well, I think that ends another show, eh?
Yep. A. Sounds good, eh?
All right. Thanks everyone for the comments. Thanks everyone for watching. We're here every Friday, sometime before 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. I have it on YouTube and Spotify. And all right, that's it. We'll see everyone. Have a good week, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.